5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello, hello, internet world. This is Norma Joe, the stripped down variant with no wig or makeup, but vodka drinking, chapstick wearing variant. So, anyways, uh, what was I gonna say? Right, where was I with the Loki bullshit? Um, so, yeah, Loki, the general comes to Sylvie and she says, like, I want you to possess me again, but, like, it's like a consensual possessing this time. It's like the Vulcan, mind melt thing. So, the general is still aware of everything. I guess. They go back to 2050 in the giant storm, and then they're, like, standing outside, and it's, like, pouring rain on them, and they could easily go indoors. But I guess they wanted the refreshment of rain on them, as I used to when I used to get high all the time. And then the general sees her past life. She's like, oh, I used to be happy back then, not like now when I like never feel anything. I just go around persecuting people. So then she's basically recruited to Sylvie's side. And then, oh, I forgot to say earlier when they were on Lamentus Moon that I totally forgot this, but after they get kicked off slash jump off the train, they don't just sit down and start saying how they're gonna die like right there and then. They try to go back to the city, and I guess there's like a rocket ship, like an Elysium rocket ship that's gonna go to like a new world or whatever, bring all like the rich people with them, and like they're like trying to run to the spaceship, and they go through this whole neon world where everything's like neon lights. And my mom said it looks like Meow Wolf, like that museum Meow Wolf, you know? And yeah, everything's just lit up. It's like black lighted, it's bright colors and all this shit. But then all this shit, they just run through the city for like 5 minutes, and then it's all for nothing because the spaceship gets hit by a piece of asteroid, I think, and like destroys or whatever. So they're like, well, we can't get on there anymore. You know, that's basically, and that's when they sit down and then they start saying, like, you know, they're all distraught and then their love finds a way or whatever. So, then what happens? Anyway, somehow Sylvie and Loki both get out of their rooms that they're being kept in the space jail, or the time jail, I mean. And, they go, because, you know, Sylvie still wants to kill, like, the head honcho, like, the top of the Illuminati pyramid thing. And I guess they're, like, in the time Pentagon at some place, so they go running all around, they beat up a bunch of people, I think. It's been, like, a week now since I watched this, so, you know. But, yeah, they both have swords now, somehow. And they bust into this fucking place where the time Illuminati are, but they're obviously like holograms. They're like all fake looking. And then the general, I think, is there, and a bunch of soldiers, and then the judge comes. Everybody comes in, you know, everybody's there. And everybody, you know, everybody just fights and stuff. And I think this is the point where Owen Wilson gets disintegrated with a disintegrating rod, and I was so fucking happy. For a second, I was like, thank God, but I knew he was gonna come back. I told my mom I thought he was gonna at least be gone for all of episode 5 and come back in episode 6, but no. He came back the very next episode, so I barely got to have any time without him. But at least it was a little bit where I got to see him disappear and pretend like he was dead or whatever. But, and then fucking, I guess Loki was sad because, his Stockholm syndrome is, like, kicking in. And then Sylvie was just on the warpath, and then they started fighting with those disintegrating rods, but for some reason, instead of trying to hit each other with the disintegrating end, which would be the smart thing to do, they try to stab each other because I guess the other end is pointed. It's like one end is a disintegrating rod, and the other end is like a pointed like stake, like a vampire, you would do with a vampire. And they start trying to stab each other with those, and they use, like, they hold it like this, like a long stick, and they, like, just push each other like this, like fucking Star Wars or whatever. And I can't even remember. The fourth episode was so fucking horrible. It was definitely the worst of the six. But yeah, eventually, well, the general gets put in jail. I don't know if they showed that, but she gets put in a jail cell because she was aligning herself with Sylvie and not with the judge. And the judge is, like, at this point kind of, like, on her own. She's like, I am the last bastion of, like, defending the time Pentagon. Like, everybody's against me now. Everybody's questioning what we're doing, and everybody's saying, like, maybe we're not 100% right or whatever, but no, I'm defending it. This is where I stand, and I'm not being moved. So she's like, everybody's against me, but I'm gonna stay where I am. So, anyways, whatever. Then, I can't remember, some fighting, blah 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 blah, and then Sylvie threw her, like, sword, I think, and, like, cut off the head of one of the Illuminatis. But because they were obviously, well, they weren't actually a hologram, they were actually a robot, but, like, glowing and, like, so it looked like a hologram. The head came off, and she was like, it's a machine. I gotta find the real Illuminati somewhere. And, then there was three of them, but I think at this point, this is where they kind of start committing to the idea that there's only one really in charge, and the three were, like, an illusion or whatever. So, then, then Loki comes up to Sylvie, he, like, takes her hands, he's like, I have something really important to tell you, and he puts on this really pathetic looking face, and he's taken forever to say what he wanted to say, and I told my mom, like, I was like, he's gonna say he's pregnant again, but because they held hands, that's the funniest shit to me, when people get pregnant from holding hands, like, the main only thing I can think of off the top of my head is in that one Star Trek Enterprise show that was on when I was in middle school. And there's, like, this, like, tough guy, like, Texan guy, named Trip, I think. And there's one episode where, like, this alien comes, and of course she's, like, pretty much like a human, but I think she just has, like, a weird head or something. Like, her head has, like, tattoos. She's, like, bald and she has a tattoo head or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, her and Trip go in this little canoe, and they're just holding hands like this, like that. And then because of that, he gets pregnant, somehow. Because she's an alien. Like, in her alien race, the females impregnate the males or whatever. And then he gets a nipple grows on his wrist, because that's how they feed their children. And then he goes around, he starts being all, like, moody, and he starts being really protective. He starts finding everything that's wrong in the spaceship, saying, like, if a small alien was here, they'd get injured, and you have to fix this stair railing, you have to fix this door and shit, because my child is not gonna be injured by your incompetence. And it was really funny. But then, in the end, everybody was like, girl, we can't have this. Can you please take the baby back? And she was like, okay. So they went back in the canoe and they held hands again, and she literally took the baby back. Somehow. But I always just thought that was so funny, because, back in the 50s and shit, people would be like, you can't let a boy touch your knee. You can't let him touch your hand or you'll get pregnant. Obviously skipping a few steps. But that's what makes it so funny, I don't know. That's just one of my personal things that always makes me laugh. When people get pregnant from, like, a touch, Anyways, what was I talking about? Right, so anyways, then Loki's about to tell her that he's pregnant again. And, but before he can get the words out, fucking the judge, because dumbass Sylvie was fighting the judge, and they were fighting with their stakes and everything. She didn't disintegrate her, she didn't stab her. She just threw her down on the ground, I guess, or something, like, deflected her, and then turned her back, like, thinking, like, oh, that's all fine. That's all I gotta do, like, fucking idiot. And then, of course, the judge just got back up and she hit this Loki from the back and disintegrated him. And then he was gone, but of course not really. And then Sylvie was pissed off, I guess. I really can't even fucking remember. Um and yeah, then Loki went to another realm because apparently when you get disintegrated, you don't actually die. At least not if you're Loki. Oh, those other suckers might have died, those other NPCs might have died when they got disintegrated, but not him, because he's special. But, he got sent to another realm, and he was like, is this hell with one L, aka his own daughter, aka the realm she rules over, where I'm like, okay, how long has it been since you talked to your daughter? Well, you and your 6 kids, or 7, I think it's 7. The horse, the wolf, the snake, hell, and the 2 other ones. Okay, that's 6. Yeah, so, but no, he didn't get to meet his goth daughter. She was nowhere to be found. Uh, he just woke up in this bright place, and then there was, like, a bunch of other versions of himself from other universes there. So apparently this is like the like garbage can where all the Lokis get thrown. And then later on in the next episode, episode 5, they say, well, it's not just us. Like this is where the time Pentagon sends like all the shit they don't want. They just send it all here. Like all the buildings, all the crashed airplanes, everything like that. Every time they set off one of those nukes, I guess, or whatever, they send all the shit here, so it's just like a huge garbage dump, basically. Which I'm surprised it wasn't more crowded than what it was, but they actually have an excuse for that. The excuse for that is that, there's like this big-ass lion named a lion, or something like that. I think that's literally what its name is, like, a lion. And the lion... It looks like that rhino from James and the Giant Peach, but instead of being a symbol of, like, Nazi power and terror, it's just, like, basically an antimatter monster. That's pretty much what they said, because they're like, oh, this creature is this big, storm cloud with, like, a lion's face, or whatever, in it. Kind of like Mufasa, I guess. And it's like, it basically just goes around and, like, eats matter. Whatever. So it's like an antimatter cloud. But all the Loki, at least these Lokis, there's like 4 of them. There's the old man, there's the black dude with the hammer, Thor's hammer, somehow. There's a kid, and there's an alligator. And the alligator's very small. It's only like a 4-foot gator or something, which gators can get up to like 12 feet sometimes. I think the biggest one's like 16 feet or something, but I think when I was in Florida, my uncle's friends were talking about alligators, and the impression I got was that the average adult is kind of between like 8 and 12 feet. I think something like that. That's kind of how they made it sound. I'm not an alligator expert, but this alligator was little. It was small. It was only about as long as like a dog or something, and it was little. Like it was short and small. Anyway, so, and they're all from their own universes, I guess, or whatever. So they're all running away from the lion, and they're like, explanation dumping on Loki, because, throughout this entire show, everyone just explanation dumps all the time. And, they're just telling him, like, what's going on, but the stuff I just said. The lion is eating matter, and this is the dump, and everything like that. So, then Loki, he just says, like, I'm not moving another step until you tell me more, and he just stops, and despite the fact that they said that if they stop, they made it seem like if they stop even for a minute, the lion's gonna come eat them, but Loki is so bratty that everybody stopped and they're just like, okay, fine, we can stop and talk for a little bit. And so they told him, I don't even know what they told him, more shit about the world that they're in, and how the time Pentagon is all assholes and they're power hungry and yeah. All the shit we already know. Then somehow Sylvie, oh, I remember, because Sylvie was about to get arrested and put back in her cell again. Her, what, like, maybe they're going to torture her or something. But, they never really say anything about torture. The worst torture was, like, I mean, Loki getting kicked in the nuts, like, over and over again, which I'm sure if I had nuts, I could be more sympathetic to, but I've heard from guys that that's, like, a bad torture, but... Oh yeah, like in fucking James Bond. Anyway, but they didn't have any hardcore torture. They don't have, like, thumb screws. They don't have, like, burning oil. They don't have, like, a rape squad or anything like that. So, whatever. Anyway, they were gonna put her back in her cell, I guess, but then she still had, like, one of their disintegrating rods, so she disintegrated herself. And then she got sent to the big garbage pit. Oh, I remember, because they said that basically the garbage pit takes place at the end of all time. Or some shit like that. Like, apparently in this show, like, time is just very linear, and there's, like, this big dump at the end of it, where they put everything, and then the Illuminati rulers are trying to, like, work everything out to where, like, oh, if this is what I didn't understand, but it's feel like you kind of just have to take their word for it. Like, it's kind of like a dream where things don't necessarily make sense, but you just have to accept it. Like, they're basically like, the Illuminati rulers are trying to make it so that there's no alternate, I mean, okay, this is the thing, like, I don't think, like, there's already alternate universes. I don't think they can do anything about the fact that there's alternate universes, but they just don't want to create paths, I guess, to encounter those other universes. I think that's what they're getting at. That's how they showed it on their little graph and shit. So they think if, like, okay, this is our universe, if we just have one timeline with one set of decisions and it's not complicated, it's all very simple, somehow that will bring about utopia. I don't really understand that. Like, I feel like even if there was only one timeline with everything on it and there was no divergence and nothing crazy going on, there'd still be crime, poverty, death, sickness, all this horrible shit, murder, and all this horrible shit would still be there. Like, they didn't say anything about eliminating suffering. They just said, we're gonna not have to worry about the mega apocalypse anymore. But that doesn't mean it's gonna be utopia. Like, it might be utopia for them, because they're at the top of the pyramid and they're like, we don't have to worry anymore, finally. But to everybody else, they didn't know about that shit in the first place, so they don't give a fuck. They're just like, I still work a shitty job that takes a majority of my life, and then I have to worry about getting mugged when I walk home. Like, fixing the timeline isn't gonna do anything about that. So it ain't no fucking utopia, but whatever. Anyways, so Sylvie gets sent to the garbage dump at the end of all time, where supposedly the Illuminati people will eventually clean it up and comb it out and make it utopia or some shit. I don't know. I don't understand. But that's what Owen Wilson and a couple other people said. So she goes there, she's like running away from the antimatter lion, and then Owen Wilson shows right back up in a fucking pizza delivery car, and I'm just like, couldn't we have 1 hour without him? But no, he's right back there, and of course he starts right in with his fucking, like, this is the ultimate bullshit right here, because she's like, I think she's just railing off about, like, yeah, I hate you guys, and I'm gonna kill the ultimate Illuminati guy, and you can't stop me, because you're full of shit, and everything's bullshit, and I hate all of you. And then he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I know it's all lies, I know I've been working for a corrupt establishment that just lies to people, and just wants to have all the power, and, but then he has the nerve to turn back around and say, hey, don't forget, little missy, you committed a lot of crimes, too. And then literally all she has to say is, well, you hunted me like a dog. Then he goes, oh, right, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm like, what kind of fucking dialogue is this? What kind of fucking morons you got in this writing room? Like, I know there's different cultures in this country, but sometimes I just can't understand. I just can't understand other people's ways of thinking. Like, I really try, I really try to be, like, accepting, but I just can't understand some people's line of thought somehow, sometimes. Especially when it comes to entertainment. Like, the type of bullshit fucking ideas I see in entertainment sometimes are just like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, where did this even come from? I feel like I've been out of the loop for 10 years while you have created another cult that I have no idea what it's all about. That I need to, like, have, like, a whole history class, like, to explain it to me. Like, anyways, whatever. So, I'm gonna go, like, 25 or 30 minutes again. But anyways, so her and Sylvie are driving around, and then meanwhile, Loki's hanging out with the other Lokis and stuff, and that's when, the old man dude says a thing about, like, oh, yeah, we're the god of outcasts, which is the only time in the whole entire 6-hour show I was like, yes, bitch. That's true, but that's the only time. Every other time I was like... But, anyways, so he's hanging out with them, and then, like, he tries to go up on this, like, manhole, because I can't remember, he wants to do something, he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill the lion. Somehow. I don't know, because, you know, these people have just, like, ideas of grandeur or whatever. Because it's Disney, I guess. That's what Disney's all about. You always want to be the top dog and, like, slay the impossible dragon or whatever. So, yes, while Sylvie's out there trying to get the Illuminati and cut their head off, then he's like, I'm gonna kill the lion, an antimatter creature. I don't know. He's just gonna kill it somehow. So, okay, great. So, the other dudes don't want to help him, so he's like, they're all just down there drinking their juice and stuff. And then he's like, and then somehow, because they're underground, they're in, like, an underground, like, bowling alley, like, club or something, like, some kind of, like, a den that's made of a bowling alley underground or some shit, like, fucking Girl Interrupted. I don't know. But, apparently the antimatter lion can't get him down there. Which I would think the antimatter lion can get in anywhere. It's not like fucking, you know, a hurricane where it's just like, we're underground, so we're good. I mean, even in a nuclear attack, I feel like you have to be really underground. If you're just right underground, like a basement, you can be safe from that nuclear attack. The nuclear fallout is gonna hit you. Like, it can go through Earth. But anyway, whatever, so he goes up this little, like, ladder to this manhole cover and opens it up, and then when he opens it up, there's, like, 20 more Lokis up there, and one of them has a bike helmet. He has, like, I think, like, a chrome-looking suit and, like, bike handles on his head. That was the one I noticed, and there's a bunch of them just look like Road Warrior, Mad Max, like, pirate type of guys, and I wish some of them had assless chaps, but I'm sure Disney can't do that. And then, although I didn't pause, so there might be, like, a single frame where you see somebody in assless chaps for all I know. I don't know. But the main dude is an actual clone of Loki, aka they're played by the same guy. And they're the only ones who look alike. Everybody else is different actors. But there is this guy, he's apparently the president, which I only know from YouTube. He has a button that says, like, vote for Loki or something on him, but I wouldn't... On my own, if I didn't see that on YouTube, I wouldn't have understood that he's supposed to be the president. Like, but anyways, whatever. So, he goes in there and he's like, I'm gonna take you guys for all you're worth, or something like that. And then, I can't even remember what the fuck is going on. He wants something they have, like a map or something, I don't remember. But then the old man Loki's like, and the old man Loki, keep in mind, he's not that old. He's not, like, some 80-year-old. He's just older than the rest of them. But anyways, so, what was I talking about? Right, so the President Loki in his little suit and everything. Oh, again, with the suits. But I guess this makes sense. I don't know. He's, like, trying to get something from them, and he's like, I'll use all my pirates to kill you if you don't give me the shit I want. But then, literally every pirate puts their knife up to his face, because the idea is that Loki is so dishonorable, which, again, I'm not really getting this vibe from the myths. I mean, I guess maybe you could see it that way, but I'm still not getting... I feel like if you were going by the myth standards, all the Lokis would more just be, like, I don't know, rolling around on the floor, like, eating fruit and, like, playing with toys and, like, jerking themselves off or something like that. Like, I feel like that would be more... and maybe playing games with each other. Like, hey, which hand do you want? And then when they pick a hand, they, like, slap them in the face or whatever. Some shit like that. but, like, just little pranks, like, okay, that's another thing is that, like, the corporate nature of this bullshit is, like, they can't, just like I said before about they can't tell the difference between, like, queer people and rebels, like, not realizing it's two separate things. It can be overlapping, but not necessarily. Like, this is, like, they can't tell the difference between pranks and backstabbing. Like, for some reason, those two things are, like, seen as, like, like, identical. It's like, oh, well, all the Lokis are, like, dishonorable, like, rogues or whatever. So they're all automatically all, like, pirates that will, like, stab each other in the back, like, if they can make an extra 50 cents or whatever. Like, I don't know if that's really... I don't know if that's really what it's all about, you know? Like, I don't know. I feel, oh, I don't know if I said this earlier, but, like, I feel like a more accurate, at least to my opinion, the way I'm seeing things, a more accurate, like, to the myths version of Loki is, you know, that show, Vikings off the History Channel. I only watched the first 2 seasons and, like, an episode or two of the 3rd season. I think they're up to season, like, fucking 10 now or some shit. I can't believe it's lasted that long. I thought it was gonna be a 1 or 2 season thing. But anyways, I watched that shit, and you know there's that guy Floki, who the main character is like, he's like Loki, but he's Floki. But he is more what I have in mind. Like, I mean, obviously, Vikings takes itself a little more seriously than this Disney Marvel shit. And like I said, you know, the comic books are their own thing, obviously. But yeah, if you watch the show Vikings, Floki is like, I like it because, at least, like I said, in the first 2 seasons I saw, they might do something else in the other 8 seasons. But they never say exactly what's up with this guy. Like, he's just, like, weird. And it's, like, obviously way back in those days, they wouldn't have the same, like, fucking words to describe it that we have, but the result is basically the same. Like, he's just this weird guy, and, like, yeah, by today's standards, I don't know if he's, like, supposed to be, like, autistic, if he's supposed to be, like, a retard, or if he's, like, schizophrenic, or any of these, like, fancy fucking words. I don't know what the makers of the show had in mind for him, but it's something. He's just weird. He's just off. Like, yeah, he's not evil. He's not necessarily a backstabber. He's not a conniver, really. He's not any of that shit. He's just a weird guy who's just, like, kind of perpetually, like, high. You know? Like, he's just, like, weird. He's just weird and inappropriate. And, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Then, let me see, what else? I think that's pretty much all of episode 5. I'll say the rest in one more video. The final episode. I'm probably forgetting so much.